I don't think Eye of the Tiger is going to mix with our opening song.
No,
that plays. It's weird.
But there's always a lull in opening the show because we have no idea how
sometimes,
to open it because we don't rehearse anything.
We don't. Usually, I like to have like a conversation to lead in, like we're in the middle of a conversation. Right. But sometimes I just I don't want to do any editing, so I just start it right from the beginning.
Nice, but and I know there's usually an instrumental.
I definitely do that, but I want it to like fade in as we're having a conversation. Gotcha. Yeah. Do you listen to the podcasts?
I do. I'm on it.
You narcissist motherfucker.
I'm on it. I should listen to it. I mean...
it's the Cinema Discovery Project. Episode, I think, 67. We're on 67.
67. We are close to...
I don't know. What are we going to... We got to start thinking about what we're going to do on 100. I mean, like, it's got to be big.
A big... yeah, it's got to be
something different, maybe where we talk about a whole filmography or something. I don't know. Something like that.
That would be kind of cool. Or
a whole franchise.
Like you pick a favorite filmmaker, go through it. I pick a favorite filmmaker, go through it.
Or do it.
Or maybe we'll have a debate.
Or maybe a debate, or have a list or something. But here we are on Cinema Discovery Project. We'll get back to that later.
Yeah, we're on 67.
Yeah, 67. Yeah. I'm Stephen Billings, and as usual, I'm here with Andrew Cabral. How's the week? How's the week been going?
It's going okay. Going by fast. It is Halloween week. For those of you listening in current time or in the future. And we're recording this just a couple of days before All Hallows Eve. And yeah, it's been a quick month for October, Jesus. I think. Not quite sure how trick-or-treating is going to go this year for many people.
Yeah, I mean...
It's going to be interesting.
I don't think it's a big deal. I think you go trick-or-treating. I mean, obviously, Halloween parties...
If nobody's handing out candy, then nobody's handing out candy.
Halloween parties maybe is a little sketchy, but...
I never... People dressing up in all kind of masks and stuff, and... I don't know. Eating candy. That's not really what happens at those parties, but... That's what we all have to think. I mean, for me, October this year, I think, has been more cinematic rewarding than I think in years past. Just the sheer consumption of horror-related movies has been, rewarding for me. I've been doing, the 31 days of Halloween horror, watching a different horror movie or a Halloween-themed movie or whatever every single day, and and it's all films I haven't seen before. So that's kind of the caveat of it, because it's easy to just go back and watch your favorites. I mean, I do mix in a few favorites here and there, like I watched The Addams Family.
Did you watch? I was going to say Hocus Pocus.
Hocus Pocus, usual things. I'll probably end up watching,
Halloween.
Charlie Brown Halloween that I watch every year and stuff like that. I do want to give Practical Magic a rewatch. That has to deal with, witches and stuff. Witchcraft.
Now I know when it comes to newer ones, you watched Bad Hair, right? Did you not watch Bad Hair yet? I think maybe Dan did. So Bad Hair is on, I think it's on Hulu, or maybe it was Amazon. I think it's on Hulu, but it's a new film. It's like it's kind of like a monster movie in a sense, but it's like a folky lore type of movie where it's about this young black girl who's in this basically like an MTV. Like she works for I think it's actually set in it's set in 1989. So this is like a rival company. They don't mention MTV, but you could say this is like a rival company. So she wants to be on camera and she wants to be popular, but the company has never given her a chance. And now there's this new lady boss that comes in and takes over, and she's got this way about her, and she's all about having nice hair. So she sends her to this salon where she gets this new hair extension, and basically the hair extensions are mystical or they're has some kind of voodoo on them, and so it kind of changes her, and I don't want to give everything away, but it was pretty good. It was a pretty solid horror movie, and it was definitely original. So
that reminds me of the movie Body Bags, which is an anthology film that's directed by Wes Wes Craven, John Carpenter, Tobe Hooper, I think. Let me look it up, actually. But it came out like 1993, and it's just a series of, it's an anthology, so like series of short films. Yeah, it's John Carpenter, Tobe Hooper, and Larry Sulkis, whom no one remembers. But anywho, but there's one in there just called Hair. There's a short film in there called Hair where there's some creepy stuff happening with someone's hair. Like they get like a hair transplant.
Yeah.
And it's something really, really sketchy about the hair. And the person who gets it is Stacy Keach.
Okay.
If you know the actor Stacy Keach. And yeah, there's something really unsettling about the hair. That just kind of reminds me of that. But I've been watching a lot of stuff on the Shudder streaming service, the horror streaming service, and I've been catching up on a lot of Italian like giallo films and Hammer films and stuff like that. Even like some Vincent Price stuff, just all stuff that I've been like saying for years that I've wanted to get into, and then I'm finally like deep diving into.
Have you seen Theater of Blood? Right? Did you watch that?
No, I haven't.
Oh man, you got to watch.
I haven't watched it yet. I think that's like one of the ones that's on there. That's Vincent Price that I haven't seen yet. I think it's the only one I haven't seen.
It's a fantastic kind of horror. You could even say it's kind of a comedy. It's kind of a horror comedy about a kind of a shitty actor played by Vincent Price, who's he's Shakespearean actor, and he
I know
and he gets and he's so pissed off at all the critics that have written bad reviews that he goes around and kills them in very Shakespearean ways.
He stages them like famous deaths from Shakespearean's work. I've heard of it. I keep scrolling over it.
It's
and
really
like,
fun.
Should I watch it? You ever do that? You ever like look at a movie and you're like, I'll watch it later, and then you see it again, and you're like,
it's part of what's good about our like having physical media collection, because you can kind of put it on the shelf and not like look at it like it. And keep.
Well, this is like streaming. So
it's in your face every time you go on there. You see it, and you're like, shit, I need to watch that. Yeah, but if I put it on my shelf and I don't look at it, like.
I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent because we've got to get into our topic. But did you see what's going on with Amazon?
No.
And streaming?
No.
Not streaming, but specifically buying movies. Amazon is in the middle of this is just a Cliff Notes version, but they're in the middle of a lawsuit. Yeah. And what has come out to say is that apparently in the fine print of Amazon, the agreement that's in there between like, people like us who buy stuff and Amazon is that like, you're not buying the actual movie or TV show. You're just buying like the rights to watch it, so they can take it away from you, or you can lose it at any point. And we brought that stuff up a year ago with Apple and iTunes, and it's still a thing, and it's even worse now.
And this is why we make it. Look, we don't want to do I told you so, but this is why buying physical media is important, because you actually own it. It's in.
Yeah, no one can. People can.
They
steal
they could take it from you physically if they wanted to, but
you can lose it, you can break it. We said this before. The discs can wear down over time. Shit like that happens. But at least when you buy something, you own it, because if not, then basically you're just paying for an extended rental. If someone can take it away from you.
Yeah.
And that's why pretty much what Amazon is arguing against. Like, the person suing them says, like, hey, in your thing, this says that you can do this, and it's wrong. And Amazon's like, no, that's the agreement. And it's like, that's the downfall of this digital, like, streaming world, is that there's no object, there's nothing, tangible
everybody's
for you to actually grasp onto.
Everybody's willing to give up their ownership of something for convenience. And if you're willing to do that, then that's on you. But if that's the consequences of the convenience you get, with that. So
again, Steven and I, we stream stuff all the time. But in terms of purchasing, I usually don't buy the digital versions of movies. And I know a lot of people do, because a lot of people don't have the physical room to have.
Everybody's got their own situation.
Thousands of movies.
But
everyone's in their own unique.
But if you're really serious about collecting, I always recommend. Physical.
And then some people collect digital forms of other media and music and comic books and all this kind of stuff. It is all depending on what's best for you, but sometimes there is a caveat there to where you can lose it. If the website that you're on where you store all your movies and stuff all of a sudden crashes or, goes under, financially, and you lose everything, what happens then? It's it's a whole big thing. But
we spent the
because we got a long movie.
Yeah, we're gonna have to run through this one because this is almost a 2.5 hour serial killer movie.
It's a 2 hour and 24-minute movie. It is a foreign film. It is a Korean film, and it is I Saw the Devil. Yes. And this is a film that came out in 2010 in South Korea, but I think it made its premiere over here at Sundance in July of 2011, and it is one of the more graphic films I think I've seen, and it's I don't know if many of you had tuned in for our Night of the Hunter episode last time, but I said when I went to buy this movie on Blu-ray, they literally had to see my my driver's license, my ID, to make sure I was old enough to buy it, because it is an unrated movie. It has no rating from the MPAA. So it is, that graphic of a film. And it's a film that is unrelenting and unflinchingly graphic.
Yeah, that usually in certain scenes where maybe the camera would cut away and you would just hear thudding or
there'd be implication.
Which of course, that's some great filmmaking, when you can... It's almost worse when you can... You use your imagination to believe to kind of make it up for you, but there's something about how raw this movie is that it's unsettling to watch. Like like you said, unflinching. It does not move away from when somebody decides that they want to bludgeon somebody or chop up, stab somebody or whatever it is.
Yeah, and it's from. I mentioned. Last time, just several films when I think of I Saw the Devil, several films that I just kind of all lump together is the work of Takashi Miike, things like 13 Assassins, Ichi the Killer, a movie like Audition,
there's something about them Koreans that they just love torture, violence.
Well, someone like a Park Chan-wook as well, which we did do an Old Boy episode. Coincidentally, the actor who plays the devil in this movie, Min-sik Choi, is the protagonist, if you will, loosely. Odae-soo in Old Boy, so he looks familiar. But just I don't know what it is when it comes to Eastern Asia, whether it be Japan, China, Korea, South Korea. They tend to take more chances and be more bold in a lot of their filmmaking and more stylized than we get here. And that seems to be, a lot with international cinema and just in general. I find that. But specifically, these films tend to be very raw, very, very bold. And apparently, the director of this film, and we're probably going to butcher these people's names, Ji-woon Kim, apparently he had to cut 80 to 90 seconds of footage just to get it, a proper rating in order for it to be exhibited in South Korea or to be sold in South Korea and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a really graphic film. But let's get into it because it's gonna be a little bit of a tour here. So just the opening scene. The opening act of this movie is extremely unsettling and graphic as hell.
It's snowing.
So it's a snowy night, and I don't know what it is, Steven. When it comes to inclement weather in movies, bad shit always ends up happening. If it's raining, stormy, snowing...
How does the Earth know?
Yeah, how does the Earth know? Something always bad's going to happen. It's an ominous omen. Yeah. That's what I like to call it. So this woman who is, what's her name? Her name is Jang Joo-yeon. Her car is stuck with a flat tire on the side of the road, which is not a good place to be. It's a dangerous place to be for anyone, specifically a young woman like herself, who tend to be the most vulnerable when it comes to being attacked in this type of scenario. And she is there. She's on the phone actually. So it's set, in that. It's set in, I wouldn't say modern day, 10 years ago, whatever. But there are cell phones around. There are things, instant communication between people, which I always find to be kind of fascinating, as time goes on. There are more ways to contact people if you're in danger now than ever before. and yet still bad things happen.
Oh, yeah.
So it just shows you, there's just evil always permeates through everything. But anywho, she's on the phone with her boyfriend or her fiance that we learn later on, and this guy and we learn later that he is part of like South Korea's like special intelligence service, the National Intelligence Service. So I guess
he's like a secret agent.
FBI.
He's basically
he's like a secret agent or something.
Yeah, he's very well trained.
Very well trained, and he's portrayed by Byung-hun Lee, and his character's name is Kim Soo-hyun, and so he's on the phone and he's at work doing something, like he's getting ready. He has the earpiece in, so right away we know he's in some type of security situation, and she's talking to him like, she's saying like, oh yeah, the tow truck is on its way, but someone just approached my window. But before that happens, you get this film kind of utilizes this several times, and I find it to be the most unsettling camera angle in any movie is the POV camera angle. Yeah. It's just really creepy. Like, you get inside the mind of like the most disturbing characters through their point of view.
Yeah, and so they have a moment here where that you just, even though this is like one scene, you get a moment of, which is important, that you get what this relationship was like, very, very sincere, very loving. He starts to sing a song for her. Yeah.
Yes, he does. He has to go into the bathroom to do it because he doesn't want to be embarrassed.
Yes, but it gets cut short, but then he has to go, and so he tells her, lock the doors and wait for the tow truck. Don't take any help from anybody.
Don't take any help from
which
this
is
person.
Obviously what you would want to do. So
so this guy whose character is called Jang Kyung-chul, he's the type of person. First of all, this guy's probably the most, lack of a better term, fucked up individual you'll ever see in a movie.
Yeah, he's completely devoid of emotion, like any kind of empathy at all. It's not there.
He's a beyond sociopath. Yeah. But he's kind of like he's also predator. He's a predator, and he specifically attacks women. At least that's all the victims that we see typically when he's out stalking with this bus van that he has.
It's typically, I mean, if he has to kill men, he kills men, but when he's out hunting, it's always for young women.
He's always preying on women, but he kills men when they're like in his way. You know what I mean? It's a different mindset.
It's more survival,
prey.
And then his it's his pleasure to do the other thing.
Literally. And so he taps on the window, she rolls it down. He says he's going to check her tire. Then that's when we see that phone conversation with the fiance, and then she's like, "Yeah, I'll just wait for the tow truck. Thank you, but no, thank you." And he goes back to his van, or we think he does, and she's just kind of like, "Why isn't he leaving? Why isn't he leaving?" She puts her lights on, and then he attacks the.
He'd already kind of crept down, and then he pops up out of the front of the car and starts beating her windshield with like a pipe.
Yeah, beats like her windshield in. He get basically, long and short of it, she struggles, but he beats her over the head with something.
He finds it. He gets his way in through a window, and then we see a scene. It's really ominous. I mean, this whole movie is unsettling as hell. But he's dragging her body, and there's just a trail of blood in the snow. Yeah. And it's an overhead shot. And it's a really beautiful shot. There's some really good cinematography in this movie. And he's dragging her to the van, to the bus van thing, and then and it's title.
Yeah.
And then it pops back up, and now she's like in a plastic bag, and
she's all bloodied and
completely naked now.
Yeah, and he's basically just like getting ready to dismember her.
Yeah,
literally. That's what happens. Is he's like picking out the tools. He's chaining her limbs up, and he even makes a comment. as sick as it is, it's like, oh, your flesh is soft, it'll be easy.
Yeah.
And what is so fucked up about this is he doesn't even kill her before he does it. You know what I mean? It's not like he's dismembering her after the fact. It's like that's the way he's also killing her.
Yeah. So he, she of course tries to beg for her life and says, that she's pregnant. Please don't kill me. I'm pregnant. Well, first she's like, "Why are you doing this?" And he's like, "Why are you killing me?" He's like, "Why not? Why shouldn't I kill you?" So that right there shows you he just doesn't care. He has no feelings on the matter. Now, we don't find out until later that he apparently rapes the women first too. So
right, and we talked about it when we talked about the Night of the Hunter. Misogyny dialed up to 11 with this person. Like there's just telling the way in which he interacts with women is extremely obvious that he feels like a dominance over them.
He feels like he needs to dominate. Like a
serious dominance over them. And the compulsion to dominate is overwhelming in him. Like, he doesn't even see them as... He just sees them, like we said, as prey versus anything else. But what happens is he kills her and dismembers her, and we see him, like, cleaning up afterwards. Like, they're in some type of underground, like, basement type place, and he's, like, sweeping up the blood, like he's pouring water over the floor and he's sweeping up the blood. And there's also a great shot of her dismembered body parts in a box.
Yeah. And also as he was doing this, when he chops her arm off, her wedding ring, her ring flies off and goes into that drain, which comes back later.
So we get a cut to, like, there's this kid just playing out in the woods. Like, playing out...
in, like, a field underneath an overpass.
Underneath an overpass, just hanging out with a stick and just poking stuff. And he finds this bag, and he opens it, and there's
part of an ear.
Part of an ear in it, very similar to Blue Velvet. Yeah. And then we get another cut, and then first of all, he ushers the people that he's hanging out with over to come check it out, as if you have to share the trauma, I guess. And then we get another cut to now the place is just, flooded with, CSI and police and, newspaper people, and just the whole area is completely flooded with people. Yeah.
It's funny that you call them newspaper people, like newspapers are a thing anymore.
Yeah. No, I mean, at the time, I guess they...
Maybe in 2010, which was only 10 years ago, but internet was pretty heavy then, too.
That's very true, very true. Did you also notice the amount of flip phones that were in this movie?
A lot of flip phones.
They look like the Razor flip phones from, like, the mid-2000s. Yeah. I don't know what it was with movies, but for the longest time, and this goes up to, like, the mid-2010s, like, the cell phones you would see in movies would be flip phones. And it's just like, just more, guys, we have, like, smartphones been around for a while now. I guess it's just
it looks cooler. I don't know.
I guess, but I mean, sometimes, I guess, like, in most movies, like, people would be on the run, so they would need, like, a disposable phone. And a burner phones were flip phones, I guess.
Because they were cheap.
But
still, they were cheap.
Because they were cheap and, like, non-discrete. You know what I mean? And there was no, like, threat of copyright, because it's like, it's just a flip phone. It could be any flip phone. But anywho, there's just a bevy amount of flip phones in this movie.
So they're all doing like a search of the area to see if they can find anything else.
Like poking sticks and looking in the water.
And so
one dude finds a head.
Yeah. Well, first we get kind of introduced to the father of the girl, and he used to be a police detective. He was a chief, and now he's retired.
He's a police chief.
And you got his name?
Oh.
It's
I mean the actor's it just says Squad Chief. Squad Chief Chang?
Yeah, that's it.
Chang?
And so he shows up, and of course he's in distress. He's hoping it's not his daughter that's the one that they found the ear of, because his daughter's missing. So then they find a head in the water in the river, and this is where it gets kind of just it's very disturbing because
there's some like nitpicky things about the movie, I guess, but who's also there is Kim.
He shows up and he's like,
Kim
he comes
Soo-hyun.
on he parks on the bridge ahead, above, and is kind of watching from a distance, and
Yeah, he's watching from a distance, but he's there.
Yeah.
And but like yeah, the head is of the woman, and they and so like then I don't know why I found it so odd, but like then literally every
Yeah.
single person in that whole goddamn
it
place
seemed
comes
odd,
running over
but
to
really
it.
what it was a lot of news people trying to.
Yeah, and they're coming just taking pictures and the
Yeah.
cameras and then every CSI, every police person, just everybody
Rushing it.
just running.
It's
to,
like
this
they've
one
never
place
had a
where this head
murder in
is.
that area before or something. Like it's like every
No,
news
yeah, but just
reporter
like-
and
Also, it's like you're compromising that entire
Yeah.
area that they're investigating by trampling on stuff and whatnot. And then the handling of the head
oh man,
wasn't the best, Steven.
it's rough. Yeah,
They take it out of the water and they put it in like a cardboard box that's lined with plastic, I think. You really didn't get a good shot of it, but it was a cardboard box,
It was.
definitely. And I'm like, they don't have like a special CSI cooler thing.
look, it's
that-
2010. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just messing
I
around.
mean, has CSI stuff advanced that far? Was that bad back
I don't
then?
know.
But anyway, what happens is they're rushing it out of the place because they want to get away from people get aside, and the guy drops
He
the
trips,
box, and then
and the head just
trips
rolls
and the
out
head
on the
falls
ground,
out.
and you're like, what the fuck?
rolls out on the ground, and I'm like, what the hell? That kind of Mickey Mouse operation is this?
Jesus.
And then, of course, the person standing there who sees it is the fiance, Kim, and he's like now traumatized, and now things kick into gear, because now that's just the opening
It's just the
of this
opening,
movie. And what's going to happen now is that he is going to now try to find who did this.
Yeah. So
Who killed his
so
his
so
fiance.
basically, Kim, and the father, and the other, and the sister of the sister of
Yes.
the woman that's I can't remember these names, but they all decide that they're going to take it upon themselves to find who did this instead of letting the police actually investigate, which is a normal trope of a lot of these types of revenge type of movies.
What I also like is when this kind of kicks into gear. We also see there are other I can't remember the next. I don't think the next scene. Oh, I think they have the funeral, obviously, and it's a really emotional funeral. There are great scenes between the fiance Kim and the sister, and just you see that there was a sense of real close relationship between he and the family, because we don't really get a sense that where his family comes from. We don't really get a backstory when it comes to him or anything like that. He seems like can be a very cold and distant person.
Yeah.
But I feel like he's almost felt like he adopted his girlfriend, slash fiance's family as his own. Like that's how close they are. At least
And the
that's
fact
what
that
I
they're
got
both,
when it came to
the
funeral.
father and him are both in the same field, basically.
Law enforcement.
Yeah.
And what happens is, so they go to the funeral, really obviously sad event, and he goes to like his bosses and he asks for like
Time off.
they're like, you can take what do you want to take, a month? You want to take 2 months? And he's like, oh no, I just need 2 weeks. And he's like, you sure? He's like, you could take more time. He's like, no, I only need 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So the father has gotten some police documents because obviously he still has connections, and there are basically 4 possible suspects that they're looking at, that the police are looking at. So now Kim is going to take it upon himself to investigate or torture the shit out of these
Basically,
people.
yeah,
and
just go
find
down the
out who
list,
it is.
basically.
goes on the list. But meanwhile, the devil incarnate himself, Jang, is still out committing crimes.
Yeah, so he goes after this girl who's at a bus stop.
at a bus stop, and he picks
Which,
her up.
let me say
saying,
this: the women in this area need to do some better time management.
They gotta read the news. They gotta watch.
They need to do some time management because you're ending up in the middle of the night during the snow, out there by yourself. You need to think. You guys got to smarten up.
Well, no, yeah. I mean, there are conveniences like that are kind of bothersome. Like, you need.
Well, I think it's a little convenient.
I mean, this was this was 2000 and the late 2000s. This isn't like 1970, 1980. You know what I mean? Like where people were not as privy to the dangers of the world. Now, like every day in the news, there's people getting captured, getting murdered, getting all this stuff happening to them. So especially young women are the most like victimized you'll see in the news. Terrible, just absolutely awful. And I think this film really kind of shines a light on that significantly. But yeah, she gets picked up and he hits her over the head with a pipe.
Yeah.
And this is the woman where, he has this makeshift guillotine.
Yeah.
And he like cuts her head off with a makeshift guillotine.
Yeah.
Pretty gruesome. And yeah.
So at the same time, we're getting intercuts between Kim going after the first two people on his list. The one he makes his way. The guy's masturbating.
Oh yeah.
He catches him in the middle of a masturbation session.
Wrong place at the wrong time.
And so he after he gets interrupted, he turns off the porn that he's watching.
He turns off his computer.
Yeah, he turns off the porn right when he's about to relieve himself.
Finish.
And then he's like, huh? And like
and he tries to he grabs like the power cable thing, and he's like turn it on, turn it off, and then Kim comes in and like ties him up and like asks, he's interrogating them and attacks him, and then beats his private parts with
busts his balls.
Yes, literally. Literally. But he's not the one. And we know he's not the one. And that's what I think is really fascinating about this movie. And I think it's an old school, almost Hitchcockian level of storytelling where we, as the audience, know who could
a lot of time,
but the people don't know.
Yeah, a lot of times in movies like this, it's about the mystery of who it is. In this case, this is more of a straight up revenge movie. We're on the ride of a revenge. So in a sense, this isn't a horror movie necessarily, but it's such a graphic movie that it's hard not to be horrific.
It's horrific.
Yeah.
I think it's especially what he does to these women. Then later on, his friend that we meet. I use the term friend.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
It was more like his protege. Real.
And also, also who we meet, and they're not. I wish this is part of the movie that I wish we'd have spent a little bit more time with, which is the actual police officers that are kind of the main investigators. They are there with this first victim, and they kind of make fun of the fact that his balls got busted, and so they obviously don't care about this. They know he's human garbage, but they gotta still investigate. So they're starting to notice that the people on their list of possible suspects are getting attacked.
Because he goes to the next guy and
he attacks him while he's on his motorcycle.
Yes, he does. He runs him over. And then he's not the guy. And then I don't even think he gets to the fourth one. I feel like
he looked at the picture of him, and I think he saw it in his eyes. He was like, "This is the guy." Like,
this is the guy, and he goes, and it's our guy. It's the one we know who is the murderer, and he goes and visits like
his family,
his parents, who's with his kid and stuff, and he pretends to be an insurance, like he's checking up on like life insurance that the guy's apparently taken out, but he wants to verify his identity.
Yeah.
It's a whole cover up story, and
so then when he meets the guy's son on his way out, it gives him the hint to where he lives. He knows where he lives.
Well, I think he asks him, like, where does your dad live? And like, do you talk to him? Where do you talk? And then that's where he goes to the actual place. Yeah. He discovers that the guy's like living in like this abandoned, like warehouse type place, or this abandoned like disheveled home, and that's the place we know of to be it. But he initially goes in there, and he looks around, and it looks like a normal, like rundown, like, cheap place. But there's this
file cabinet.
These filing cabinets, and they all have locks on them. And he breaks the locks open, and one filing cabinet has all the purses of all the women he's killed. The next one has all of like their undergarments, and then the third one has all their shoes in it. And it's like, this is clearly the guy.
And then there's like a very tense moment where a door opens, and you don't know if there's somebody coming out or.
Yeah, that was really unsettling.
Yeah, and so he it's all in the darkness. So he slowly turns around and goes towards it, and you get the entrance to his kill room.
Yeah, because before, early on, when he was cleaning up the blood from the first victim, the woman we saw in the beginning. There was this camera pan out. I don't know if it was a zoom out or a dolly out. And you saw like this hole in a wall, and this is that hole in the wall that we saw at the beginning. And keep in mind, this is like about 40 to 45 minutes into the movie, and he's already found where the killer's like hideout is. He's already identified him, and he's already found out where he lives. So he goes in there, and he finds the wedding, the engagement ring in the drain. The drain, and he recognizes it. Of course, he breaks down. I'll say this: the actor who plays Kim is really good.
Well, they're all good.
He's amazing.
They're all good.
Yeah, the acting in general in this movie is amazing, but they're the two
leads are great.
Two leads are fantastic. But what is happening in the meantime? After he finds out who he is, we find out that this, maybe not the best employment I've ever seen in my life.
No background checks?
No background checks, I guess? Nobody. I mean, the police knew who he was, but I guess no one decided to check up on it. He apparently, this van/bus he runs, I forgot what the name of it was on there, but apparently it's a school bus for these young schoolgirls. And of course, Stephen, he's taking them home, if you will. And the teacher just loads them up, and he says, "Take them right home." And he's like, "Okay." and
of course he takes all the girls home except for the last one.
The last
and what we discover during that period is that there is a tracking. On the van.
Yeah. Kim got some tracking stuff from like another agent who I guess stole it for him basically. There's this little almost pill type thing that you can track. It's like a GPS tracker, but he also has this thing that he put on the guy's van itself to track the van. So he decides. Yeah.
So he.
This is part of one.
This is what happens. Is he gets a call from the people that he took the girls from. So he assumes that now they know about him. The cops know about. So he just.
Well, the cops show up to the place and ask, "Hey, is this guy here?" And they're like, "No, then where is he? Oh, he took the girls home."
Yeah, so he decides instead of going back to his normal place, he decides he needs to get this done now. So he pulls over where this greenhouse is.
Yeah.
And
this greenhouse of horrors, essentially. Yeah, and he is going to do what he does, but we actually getting to see the pre-murder.
Yeah, it seems like every time we get to a new victim, we get to see a little bit more of his process before he kills them, and then
more of his, I would say, psychosis.
Yeah, so he's got her where she's blindfolded. Basically, she can't see. Yeah, she's tied up. She's face down in a hole in the ground, a ditch in the ground, and then he starts to he's about to rape her.
But the stuff he says. You see
it's about the dominance.
The misogyny, you see the psychotic nature of him, and you just what he says, and it's just holy shit.
Yeah.
Just, this is vitriol toxic stuff. And that's disturbing. His nature and the way this actor portrays him is what I find to be as disturbing as the acts he's committing. Like, they go hand in hand. And it's really unsettling. And as he's about to commit this horrific act, he hears something.
Yeah.
And he covers the girl's mouth and he listens, and he goes to the greenhouse, and he sees just I think the figure of Kim in like the doorway, like down the corridor or something like that in the distance. So he opens the light, and then you get one of those like where each light opens up sequentially and to the person. It's always a cool thing they do in movies. And there he's standing there, and then the guy like talks to him. He's like, "Oh, it's about time like the police showed up or something like that."
Yeah, he's like, "Well, he's like, I didn't think they'd find me this fast."
Yeah, I didn't think they'd find me this fast. He's kind of gloating.
Well, he's a we know he's a narcissist.
He's a narcissist. Yeah,
but he's got one of them. What are they called? Hose, Reaper hose. A shortened,
like those handheld Reaper things, and he freaking charges at him like a wild man, and Kim just like, does his special agent
kung fu
stuff.
I don't know.
Kung fu and proceeds to beat the shit out of him.
pretty easily.
He starts smashing his head on a rock, and he lifts up this rock, and he's about to smash his head in, and game over. Movie ends.
The thing is
an hour.
The thing is what we learn about what's going on with Kim is that he says this after that he wants to cause as much pain as he caused her. So he doesn't just want to kill him; he wants to make him suffer. And the thing, this is what grows in when it comes to his character. It really shows us how far he's gonna fall. This is the start of,
Yeah, there's that old saying. I'm probably butchering the saying where if you go down the road of revenge, dig 2 graves.
Yeah,
something like that. Because the road to revenge is self-destructive, and we've already seen that he's already down that road, but now he's just taking further steps, down that road. Like, he's going down further. And now, instead of killing him and just ending it right here, he decides, I believe he frees that girl, because we see her. Yeah. We see her, and then he sees her, and then and then what he does is
he breaks his wrist.
Yeah, he puts him in that ditch that he was in, leaves him an envelope full of cash.
Yeah, so he can get around.
Yeah, and then he breaks his wrist, and leaves him there. But he put a tracker on him. And
so now he's trying to walk back to get hitch a ride.
Yeah, and this is when he gets picked up by a taxi cab.
Lucky,
man,
huh?
Lucky
lucky that there's a taxi there, right? That's at least what the taxi driver says.
He happened to be driving by.
Yeah.
This late at night? Damn. Who knew? Anywho, 2 shady characters, but not to the level of shady as he is, pick him up, and the guy says, "Yeah, get in. There's nobody here this late. You're not gonna find a car, around here this late." And he already he thinks the situation's suspicious.
Yeah, and we get this great shot of him, and then he looks at the dashboard and sees the driver's license of the actual driver, and it's not this guy, obviously.
Yeah, it's not this guy. And then the dude in the back is like smiling like the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland. Yeah. That's a dead giveaway.
Yeah. And then we pan over to him, and he's got like a knife in his pocket.
Yeah, that guy's got a knife in his pocket, and then Zhang has a knife that he took as well with him. And what we get next is really, it's a gruesome sequence, but it's really well done.
They must have done. They shot the inside parts of the scene. Must have been like on a stage somewhere, because the shot is like in this Matrix spin around thing.
You could have done it. They did it for remember that? I don't want to go off on a tangent, so you're gonna have to stop me. But remember in the Raid 2, there was a car chase sequence with a lot of action in it, and they shot all that like like with cars and stuff. Like they had cameras moving and whatnot,
yeah,
like attached to cars and rigs. But this looks more like
this is more invasive. Like they had to do a spin around.
It's a close up.
It's a spin around close up shot inside a car, and I don't even know that you could shoot that without taking the roof off. You know, like taking the, you know, like, you know what I mean? Like it's so in close up.
Because it's literally, it's a constant like 360 spin.
Yeah, as he's stabbing these two dudes to death.
And then you're cross-cutting like the car weaving all over the road on the outside as well, and then it cuts back into the, you know, them getting stabbed. But I'll say this though, they spared no expense when it comes to blood splatter and like blood spurting everywhere. And just the sound effects of the knife like penetrating flesh is pretty gruesome. It's just like just that slick sound that you hear. And the guy and Jang is like violent as hell. He stabs the guy in the neck. He's stabbing him repeatedly in the chest, constantly stabbing the other guy, stabbing this guy, and
then they end up in a ditch.
Yeah. And they end up in a ditch. But lo and behold, these two dudes had already killed like the taxi driver beforehand, and they had like basically taken, you know, they were murderers who got murdered by
a better murderer,
bigger, badder murderer, bigger, badder murderer, and what's his name is covered in blood now. Jang is covered in blood, so he takes like a soccer like jersey or something, and that's in like in the trunk, and he puts that on, and he leaves the two guys like bodies in the woods. And then, but the whole time, what's his name is following him because he's got a tracker on him, GPS tracker on him, Kim, and what he decides to do is he goes to a doctor to get his wrist taken care of, because his wrist is broken. And then this scene is also disturbing.
Yeah, the doctor, like, you know, he's very nice, and then he calls him like son, and then that's what sets him off. Anytime when it comes to men, it's almost like it's about authority. Like he hates authority. Anybody that tries to act like they're above him, you know, in any kind of way, he snaps, and so he gets confrontational with this very elderly doctor, and is probably going to kill him if it isn't for the secretary walking in and saying, "Hey, come get your prescriptions," you know.
Yeah, this poor nurse / secretary who becomes like pretty much his next victim. Doesn't murder her, but
well, he makes her.
We'll get to it right now.
We'll get to it in a second. But
basically he like we said, like Steven said, like he, you know, physically like dominant, like he's very dominant, you know, male alpha dominant in this scene with both the doctor and then this young nurse. You know, he asks her a lot of just like toxic masculine questions, and we already know he's a piece of shit, so we already know that that's what he's gonna do anyway. But just like it feels like men can be like that, you know, without being terrible murderers, if you will. You know what I mean? Like, he asked her, like, hey, do you have a boyfriend? Hey, how old are you? You know what I mean? Like, inappropriately, you know, hitting on her.
But it works. It works to an extent. It gets her in a room with him, which is what's sad.
Well, what happens is, she, like, turns him down, and then he leaves, and then she goes in this other room, and he's in there waiting for her. And that's when he locks the door and has her strip her clothes off, and then, you know, briefly perform
oral sex.
You know, forcibly oral. Yeah, basically, you know, rape, oral sex, and then this is when Kim hears. Well, yeah,
he's still got that. He's got that listening device on him.
Yeah, he's got the earbuds going in his ears, and he can hear it. So he goes inside. And
which I love this shot. So like. You get it from like the door, and you see like, you know, the guy you know, he's raping her, and then like you just see him walk through the door, come in with a fire extinguisher, and just fucking hit him over the head. You know,
I thought that's a great. I thought you were going to talk about on the doorknob where the doorknob
that's great too. Sure.
And then, like, you get that foreground.
Just get him coming in. It's just one shot, him walking in, and just
walks in. And bashes him over the head with a fire extinguisher.
Yeah.
And then he hits him again, and they have a little fight. But once again, Kim beats the shit out of him.
But the thing is, and this is part of what, is the, like we say, downfall of Kim, is that he continues to let him loose so that he can once again destroy other people's lives. Every time he lets this guy live longer and keeps playing games, somebody else gets hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, and it also shows like his, like you say, his selfish nature, because he's so hell bent on torturing this guy that his selfish nature is destructive. Not only self-destructive, but literally externally
he's trying to control this animal that he can't control, and he keeps thinking he can because he himself is, you could say, narcissistic in a way. He thinks he's skilled enough to control this guy and keep him from hurting people, but he's not. He's not. He can't control, this smoke. This guy's, and he says it later. I underestimated you.
And he does. He thinks he's controlling the situation, but he is to a certain extent, and he's not.
Yeah.
I mean, like we just said, he just destroyed these two people's lives.
It's because he doesn't understand who he's dealing with. He thinks that this guy has to have some kind of feelings or some kind of real emotion that drives him, but it isn't. And that's what you learn in like one of the last scenes of the movie, is that, he's...
Yeah, but what Kim does in this situation, remember, he broke his wrist in their first encounter, and now this time he cuts his Achilles tendon, and it's
rough.
Cuts it right out, and the blood spurts, and
it's nice.
And the guy's screaming, and he tells the nurse, who's literally traumatized beyond
don't
belief,
leave.
Hey, don't go anywhere. We have to bandage him up.
You're gonna have to patch him up after this.
Yeah, and he leaves him
this time in an abandoned car.
In the back of an abandoned car in a parking lot, and now we see he's got like a boot, like a boot on his foot because of the injury, and he still has his wrist in a cast. He's looking like crap, Steven.
He's looking rough, but who gives a shit, right?
Yeah, I mean, fuck this guy. But I'm just saying, a lesser guy, someone who isn't this animalistically horrific, would probably have given up by now. But this guy doesn't stop.
No.
Just doesn't stop. And that's the one thing that's crazy to me, or kind of blew my mind, is that this guy, like, even after the first encounter where he got messed up, like, somebody beat him pretty much nearly to death, and yet he still continued his terrible ways. Like, he still assaulted the nurse woman, and now he's going to even continue to move on and probably assault other people.
Yeah.
I mean, we know he does because we watched the movie, but he would probably continue to go. You can't teach this type of person a lesson, if you will, which is what Kim's trying to do. But he decides that he's going to go meet up with a friend.
This guy has a friend?
Protege. I guess so. I mean, I don't know how they know each other, other than we get a hint that hey, remember when I first met you? That type of conversation.
So obviously they've known of each other for a while.
I like do like the local murderers like all hang out, like they have like conventions or something. Yeah. Like that's how do they have like?
Have you not seen Behind the Mask?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that's true. But it's like okay, but this guy takes it. I wouldn't even say one step further. He's just on another like.
This guy's a different type.
He's on a highway to hell, and the fact that he's a cannibal and a murderer, so a double whammy.
Yeah, so they're at the dinner table, and he's eating this food, and he's like really enjoying it, and then he asks him like, so why do you keep eating that stuff? And he's like, it's like, look, once you have this meat, you never go back, basically,
I guess that's true.
Yeah, and then we realize he's eating people, and you're like, oh, that's...
And it also looks like it's raw.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, granted, cannibalism is raw versus not raw. You really...
Yeah.
Like, you're already down the terrible path. I mean, and the guy's name is Tai Ju.
Yeah.
And he, yeah, he is. He has. But thing is, he's got like I don't know if that's like his girlfriend or family member. I don't know, but he has a woman companion
Yeah.
with him, and other than the fact that she seems really unsettled, by Jang, we really don't like know anything else
Yeah.
about her. And because this conversation is very interesting. Talk about like dominance. Um, you know, Chang calls him a crazy bastard, and he tries to like stick up for himself, but he can't do
Yeah.
it. Because it's kind of like, when an alpha male lion versus someone who wants to be an alpha male lion, but just it isn't can't really do it. Yeah, and so he backs down, but when he gets nervous or whatever, worked up, he starts crying,
Yeah.
which I thought was really interesting because like these people have no emotions. They're sociopaths.
Yeah.
You can't have emotions being that level of a murderer. You are dead cold as ice. And yeah, so he's like, "Oh, I gotta prepare," and then he says, "Oh, I gotta prepare, for the next mealtime," and we get to see his process, if you will, where he has just a freezer of body parts. And he's like, "Oh, I ate all the guts already. Well, time for me to get a fresh batch." And apparently, he has this woman chained up with a bag over her head in some place, and he's like dragging her along. And it's actually, this is one of the Blu-rays or DVDs or whatever where like the menu plays like clips from the movie, which can sometimes be spoilerific. And one of the clips is when he's leading her down the hallway with the chain, if you will. And yeah, I just thought that was
Yes,
interesting.
and I think she
And
was a real estate agent. She was the one that showed him that house that they're in.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's another situation where like it's a woman.
Yeah.
It's not a man. I mean, does he capture men and eat them too? I don't really know, but if for what we know, it's another man preying upon a woman who he sees as inferior to him, obviously, as prey, not as equal. And he's about to kill her, and Kim shows up because he's still following.
Yeah,
Jang.
Jang decided to go upstairs to get some sleep.
Yeah, he's gonna sleep on the couch with a blanket, and Jang comes in and
Well, Kim
stops it from happening.
Well, Kim turns off his music, this guy's music, and it stops him from killing the woman. And then in the process, Kim stops this guy from killing the woman.
Oh yeah, but also we forgot during the dinner scene, Taeju basically said the guy who's after you is probably
created a monster.
Yeah, he's a relative. He's probably a relative of someone that you've killed.
Yeah.
I mean, he used more colorful language than that, but he pretty much said that, and he kind of implanted that in Jang's mind, that it's probably someone that he's killed before, and someone related to someone he's killed before. Yeah. And so that's what he's thinking in his head as he's lying on the couch there. And the guy laughs, Taeju laughs, because you created, you're a monster, and you created a monster too. And that's a really fascinating concept, that going down this path of revenge, you become a monster to kill a monster. You know what I mean? There's the whole thing where why doesn't Batman kill the Joker? Why doesn't Batman kill the Penguin or all these other guys? It's because he doesn't want to become them, if you will. He keeps sticking them in Arkham, then they come out and kill a bunch of people, but whatever.
When is the cycle going to end?
Yeah, when's the cycle going to end? But that's just a fascinating philosophical thing to me. The moral decay of one's soul to get on the level to have to, get this level of revenge is, traumatizing to oneself. But yeah, so he interrupts this murder in progress, and he he doesn't he like
He
stabs
stabs his hand into a table, and then he like takes the collar that was on the girl, and then like ties his neck down, and then so he's about to do something to him. He's about to cut off his other arm, and then that's when Jang shows up, and he has a shotgun, and he shoots at Kim, and Kim has to run away and jump through a window. Now, one of my favorite parts is this part where, what's his name, the cannibal, he tries to take the knife out of his hand, but then the handle breaks off.
Yeah, like a ball.
Yeah,
handle,
it's hilarious. He's like, you know.
Yeah, and then he's gotta like
pull his hand up through it. Yeah,
pull his hand through it. It looks brutal.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
During the fight,
well, now Kim goes upstairs.
Yeah, during the fight, Kim knocks out Taeju's girlfriend.
Well, yeah, he goes upstairs. He does some great parkour there for a second, and he gets upstairs, and Jang is kind of like listening, waiting to see. He can hear the footsteps, and then as Kim's kind of like waiting to see, wait for Jang to come upstairs. Then the girl does attack him. He punches her a few times, knocks her out, and then the cannibal, which I'm never gonna remember his name because you can keep repeating it. Taeju, then attacks him also, and then he kind of knocks him out again too. And then at the same time, Jang shows up and shoots at him again, and then I don't remember what happened. Oh yeah, he knocks him out. Yeah, again.
Yes, he does.
With like a stick, like it looks like a pool table stick or something, some kind of metal, or maybe it was like a pipe.
Yeah, had like a point at the end, and yeah, he just keeps
saying why,
and he's just like,
and you'd think after that beating he'd be dead.
Yeah, you would think, but he's far gone. Like I can't remember if it happens after or before this, but there is a point in the movie where he's on the phone with his fiance's father, and the father's telling him to stop. Don't go further down this road. We'll just.
It might have been this next scene where he's driving with Jang in his car, and he's I think he does call him in the scene. I think this is it.
And then he talks to the sister.
Yeah.
And the sister what are you doing? And he's like, I'm doing my job. And he's like, and basically they're trying to get him to stop, and he's so far gone that he can't stop. You know what I mean? Like he's dug too deep.
He's not suffered enough yet. This guy hasn't suffered enough.
Yeah, he's basically not suffered. Yeah, he's not suffered enough yet. And what happens is they both end up at a hospital, and he's talking to his friend. He's just like, I'm not done yet, basically. The other agent who had gotten him the GPS stuff and whatnot, and what's his name is in like and Jang is in the next bed, and he thinks that and they think he's completely knocked out, and they're talking about the GPS that he planted on him by making him
swallow it,
basically eat it, swallow it. So now he lets him go again, but this time Jang is going to get the upper hand on Kim, because Jang knows how to get rid of the transmitter. He basically needs to find as many laxatives as he possibly can.
He needs to shit it out, so he
needs to shit it out.
Of course they have to shit.
They specifically mentioned diarrhea, though. Yeah. They didn't mention just regular old bowel movements.
Yeah, and so we have to see his shit, of course, because we see everything else. So we see him digging through his shit, pulling the transmitter out, and then he decides instead of just getting rid of it, he decides he's going to plant it on somebody else.
Well, not only that, but he calls Kim and taunts him while he's in the process of getting the laxatives and going to do it. And
he tells him he made a mistake, that you're going to regret not.
Yeah, like, you underestimated me now. Like, and then Kim goes to see the cannibal guy who's now named, I've forgotten. Taeju. Yeah, Taeju in the hospital. And it's like, where would he be going? And he's like, man, you fucked up.
This guy always gets. He says this guy always gets.
This is a guy,
he always gets even.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't. Yeah. This is not a guy you mess around with, because now he's gonna kill your whole family, and it's gonna. Yeah.
The thing is Kim doesn't know that he knows who he is now. Like he's figured out, who this guy's related to. So now he knows he has to go find this one person's family, which you could say in a sense there's some conveniences here. How does he know all this information? I guess, does he have her driver's license? How does he know exactly who he's going after? I don't know that was explained very well.
No, it's not really explained.
But he, as he's taunting him, he's making his way to see the father and to go find the chief, and
yeah, and when he's investigating, when he's talking to Taeju, he breaks his jaw in a pretty
man, it's rough.
Yeah, when he puts his hands in the guy's mouth and is spreading.
Well, the guy's laughing at him about everything, and he's like, "Oh, you think this is funny?
This is funny?"
It's like, "I'll give you a permanent smile."
Oh no, because he makes the joke about his fiance, how she was raped before she got killed, and the guy's like, "Do you think it's funny?" And so he breaks his jaw by spreading it apart, and the blood.
Well, yeah, he's like, "I'll give you a permanent smile."
Oh, yeah, man, that's some serious.
Oh man,
that's some serious stuff. But once again, like we said, his ego got the best of him by letting Jang go again, by having him, treated at a hospital and letting him go, and now, like we said, Jang has the upper hand. He gets like Steven said, gets the transmitter out of him, puts it in some poor person who's just had to go
like
to the bathroom.
rent-a-cop or something.
Yeah, something. And then now he's loose. Yeah. Now he's just, he's in the wild. He's let off the leash. And like you said, he somehow knows where.
I don't know how he figured out exactly. I guess maybe when he was overhearing them talk. Maybe
he did have the personal effects of all of his victims.
Maybe he got that, but how does he know exactly which one?
Which victim it is.
I guess he assumes it's his latest victim. One of his latest victims,
well,
maybe?
I think he may have noticed the engagement ring.
Yeah, maybe.
That was that Kim put on after he had found it.
That might be it.
And he was using while he was fighting him. Maybe he remembered that detail.
Yeah.
The guy does seem a bit detail-oriented.
Yeah. So he knows where he's going. He's on his way to kill other parts of his family. And
and Kim even calls up the section chief who's leading these investigations, and we get like these guys are running around. They don't know what the hell's going on really, and the guy's like, yeah, if anything happens to him, I'll kill you. So everyone's rushing. So we get a scene where Kim calls the father, and the phone is ringing, but the father doesn't go get it in time because he also wants it because
Jang shows up and is like, package.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where how you just picked up the phone, you may have been saved. So then we get a cut of inside the house where Jang's just like going through the fridge and eating stuff, and then looking at a picture. He's like, "Oh yeah, you don't have you don't." She didn't look like you.
The resemblance is really there. Must have taken after the mom.
There.
Yeah, and so you see
and then the sisters coming home.
Yeah.
And what is interesting though is I wanted to mention this as I was watching it last night, is at this point in the film we don't see what he does to the father or to the sister. We just see kind of the after effects of it, because I think by this point of the movie, we already know his level of brutality.
Well, no, we do see. I mean, he does. We do get to see him beat the father with the weight in the face. We saw that. Did you not see that in your version? Yeah, in my version, which is the unrated version.
That's what I have.
Wait, let me see what you got. Let me see what you got there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the exact copy I have. Yeah.
Did I not see that?
So, he says that whole thing, he's got the picture, and he's, like, over top of him, and he starts to beat him in the face with that weight, and, like, in the eye. And then, as he's doing it, then the daughter comes home, and he stops.
Oh, you're right. Oh, you know what I was mentioning? Is the father's already on the ground bleeding at that point.
Well, yeah, we don't see that part,
what were you thinking coming at? Yeah, what were you thinking coming after me? What were you think? Yeah, what were you gonna? What were you?
Yeah, we don't see the initial attack.
Yeah,
but he's already now he's beating him even more, and then before he kills him, the daughter shows up, and now he attacks her.
But
we don't see that though. Yeah, we can just assume what he's going to do to her,
right.
Then
and now But what is interesting is that Jang decides that he's going to give himself up to the cops. Which is kind of like the ultimate, like...
Well, yeah, he's like, now you can't get to me.
Ultimate fuck you to Kim.
Yeah, now you can't get to me.
Yeah, now you can't get to me.
But Kim shows up at the house, and, they won't let him in at first, but then...
And then he starts, like, taking out cops.
Oh, yeah, yeah, he's beating the shit out of him, and then...
But then, like, apparently, like, 2 of them stop him at the door, and I'm like...
Come on, man, you could have done that. But then the section chief guy stops him and, of course, gives him his 2 cents and says, this is your fucking fault, basically. And and so, but then he lets him in because he wants him to see what he let happen. The father's still alive, apparently.
He moved and his hand moved, and I'm like, wow,
he really took
surprised.
a beating.
But the sister is gone.
Is gone, and so now then Jang calls the section chief guy, and they give the phone to Kim, and basically more taunting, like, and I think after that we get a cut to the sister in the alley. They find her body in an alley, and you see Jang, and he's driving away, and I guess from there...
Is she dead?
It looked like she was dead, naked in the alley. That's what it looked like.
That makes sense, considering who this person
and so
is.
now he's on his way to give himself up.
Yeah, and he's gonna do it in the middle of the street, like in the middle of the road, and he goes there. There's all cops just all around, and he gets up. He's covered in blood.
Oh yeah, it's very dramatic, almost kind of like the movie Seven, where Kevin Spacey just kind of shows up and he's like, "Detectives," like.
Yep, just like that, and he has the knife in his hand, bloody knife in his hand, steps out, has his hands up, and the cops are about ready to close in on him, just to take him.
And then here comes Kim.
Here comes Kim, and what he does, though, is he opens his door.
This was very much a Fast and the Furious move.
Very fast
or even the movie
not
Wanted.
Not quite as crisp.
Makes me think of Wanted.
Yeah, not quite as crisp.
Yeah, not as crisp.
And he backs the door over and to knock it off its hinges so that he doesn't have a door anymore. So he's speeding towards them. The cops are going in, so it's like a race to get to this guy, and he ends up grabbing him and driving away. and at that point, I'm like, is there no cops and cars around here that can chase him?
Yeah, there's a few conveniences.
Everybody here
there's
on
a few
foot?
conveniences in this movie, but it's all for like a lot of good movies. You accept certain things. So yeah, he drives away, grabs him, drives away, and now this is where he's finally got to end this.
Yeah.
So we're back at the torture.
We're back at square
We're
one.
back at the torture basement, the kill room.
Yeah, where it all comes full circle.
And he's got Jang tied up underneath the guillotine, and he's smoking a cigarette. Kim's smoking a cigarette. Kind of how Jang was at the beginning. Smoking a cigarette playing with his victim. And he's trying to elicit emotion out of Jang. He's trying to get him to be scared.
Fear.
Yeah, he's trying to get him to be scared, trying to get him to feel sorry for what he did. And this is where he realizes, like you said earlier, this guy has no emotion. He's not scared. He doesn't stop.
Well, he literally tells him. Well, initially he like begs for his life, but it's a ruse. At least I've viewed it as a ruse.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a ruse. He's pretending to be upset so that he will kill him. It's kind of like you know, like you said, a good comparison is the Joker and Batman. The Joker will continue to push Batman to his furthest and get him to kill him so that he'll become him. And that's, you know, and that's, you know, this guy's, as the movie title says, the devil. I saw the devil. You know, this guy's pure evil. He doesn't care. So he puts this fake crying match, like, please kill me. Oh, please do this. And really, you know, he realizes this guy's faking. And then when he sits there for a second, Zhang then looks up and he's like, look, stop fucking with me. Are you going to kill me? Or are you not? Because I'm not scared. You know?
Right.
You know, and he...
I have no... Yeah, he's like, I don't have any pain.
I don't know what pain is.
Fear.
You do.
Yeah.
And then, you know, like, he just lays it out to him. He's like, there's nothing you can do to me that will teach me any lesson or anything like that. It's you've already lost. I've already won. You know, the fact that he's let other people die, and he's had to become him in the process, you know, or at least close to him, you know, come down to his level, that he's already lost. So
yeah. So he rigs it up so that he's attached to that makeshift guillotine from earlier in the film, and then he rigs it up so that there's a rope attached to the door, which is attached to his mouth. And what Kim did, that's kind of, I mean, this just shows kind of how the level he's fallen to is he's somehow been able to get the parents that we saw earlier and the son to come
visit there. And
and he's walking away as their cab pulls up, and you see them kind of, you know, blurred out in the background, but you kind of like, you know who they are. And they walk in and they're like, they're looking for him, and like they're like, you know, and they're calling his name and all that stuff, and he's telling them, you know, don't come in, all that stuff, because it's attached to the door. It's gonna kill him.
And of course they can't understand him because he's got the rope in his mouth.
Yeah, you know, and then the rope starts to tear because he's got it in his mouth and his teeth, and then
they start to pull on it, and he's trying his best to hold on, which of course gives me the jeebies, because teeth and pulling teeth, and it just, like, he's really trying, and you hear the noises it makes when it starts to pull his teeth as he's trying to hold on for dear life. It's like, ugh. And so finally they pull it open and cuts his head off.
And yeah, do you think he felt any type of fear in that last sequence?
I think so. I think it finally hit him, especially when he realized that it was his family.
Whom he had abandoned.
Who he had abandoned, but I think whatever his deep issues, where the person he became came from the origins of his family. And I think that, you know, I think it shows that no matter how evil somebody is, that it's still a person, and that there is some kind of, like, emotions coming from somewhere.
And it really, I mean, you see this all the time in the news, and even just looking back in just the history of just violent crime in the world, is that there's always a family behind it, and you always wonder, like, what could they be possibly thinking?
Yeah.
Like, what goes through their minds when, like, someone who is, you know, so, you know, part of their family, literally, like, from them, like, grew up with them, lived with them, you know, as part of their DNA, literally becomes this monster of a human being. Like, I couldn't imagine what would run through someone's mind,
I think,
having to confront.
Yeah, and I think
personally.
that because, you know, it seemed like the parents were pretty decent parents. Like, the father might have been a little bit of a deadbeat, but he was there, and so maybe he was, like, afraid to show who his real self was to his family. Like, for them to...
What we haven't really discussed is that he had a son.
Yeah, he had a son.
So at what point did he have a, I don't know, healthy enough relationship?
Maybe that's
with a
what
woman?
broke him. Maybe he had a relationship. The woman maybe cheated on him. Or
she could have died.
I think. I mean, he has such a demeaning, like, a hate for women, that I think that a woman wronged him, and now he takes it out on every woman he runs into.
Could
you know,
be. We don't really
and
know.
then the
We
mom's
don't
not there,
that.
so she's probably dead because he probably killed her.
Yeah, he probably did kill her. That could have been his first.
He could have been his first victim,
know.
and so I think he was afraid to show his family who he really was in that last moment, and then he was dead.
Yeah, but what happens? You know, his head gets cut off. He's dead, and then
Kim's still got a listening device in the room, so he's hearing it.
He takes it off. He takes it off one final time, and we can just see that he just drops the
comm unit,
the listening device, and then he just breaks down in the road and crying, and that's how the movie ends. That is a emotionally bleak ending.
Yeah,
because his soul is just destroyed. Yep. I mean, his soul is destroyed. I mean, not only is his fiance dead, her father, I believe, may also be dead. I mean, I'm just reading a recap, like, keeping along with the Wikipedia recap here, and it says he's dead, but yeah, the sister, like you said, is dead. Like this road of revenge also paved a path of destruction that's destroyed people's lives, his own life, and probably his moral soul. Devastating. And this movie at the end, I don't know about you, Steven, but I felt like a sense of like, I can breathe now. Like, damn, like, wow. And it's the same impact I felt when I first saw it, and the same impact watching it for a second time.
Yeah, it's definitely a roller coaster of violence and pain, and but though it's very hard to watch, it's also very well shot and very well acted and it's hard not to appreciate the craftsmanship of this movie. I mean, like, it's not a very complicated movie, but sometimes these very simple subjects can be brought up by fantastic filmmaking and fantastic acting, and that's what I think this movie does. Is it's not a difficult subject. It's not anything like special plot wise, or it's not something new. It's not something very complicated when it comes to themes, but it's.
Well, I would say it is, but I would also say like there's no third act twist.
Well, no. I mean, I know
there's no like twist in the movie or anything.
What I'm
like
saying
that.
is we're not exploring something that hasn't been explored a lot. We're exploring something we've explored many times in movies about, good versus evil and how some people fall to evil to defeat evil, and it's something we've seen in a lot of films. So it's not anything new, but it's because of the filmmaking that it makes this movie exceptional,
Right. And it makes me want to see more of this director's work.
Yeah.
And I've sadly have not seen any of his other work.
He hasn't done any films it's been a couple years since his last movie, but I think a couple of his other movies, I think Good, Bad, and the Weird.
Oh, I've heard of that film,
I think it's like a play off of, obviously off of Good, Bad, and Ugly, and I think it's like a comedy western of sorts. Yeah, I'm with you. I definitely would like to watch more of this filmmaker's stuff. And look, South Korean, films in general, you should check out more of them. I mean, there's some great films. We already talked about Old Boy as we said earlier.
I would say just Asian cinema in general, I think is amazing. I mean, I would not even specifically horror or gruesome like this, but even something as simple as John Woo's stuff from before he got before he came to the US.
Like Hard Boiled
like Hard Boiled and The Killer are really good. Is it Make Way for Tomorrow? I forgot what it's called. Let me look it up real quick. But it's movies like that, and also I mean we're talking South Korea. We might as well talk about Parasite. Just one Best Picture.
Yeah, Bong Joon-ho.
Yeah, Bong Joon-ho. Look at his films. Just amazing. Yeah, it's A Better Tomorrow.
Gotcha.
That's the name of the movie. But Chow Yun-fat.
So yeah, check out more Asian cinema.
Really good stuff.
That's our last movie of October.
Of October, and hold on, Steven, because I did not do my homework.
Oh Jesus! So I'll keep talking.
I just remembered literally around like, man, what are we gonna do next time? Oh wait.
What is it? Is November, right?
But it is November, so we do.
Are we gonna do another themed month?
Ooh, I would.
Are we gonna do our second annual Noirvember?
Yeah, I would. Yes, we will. And I think that would be the best. But I'm gonna pick a film right now to do it. But it's October went by much faster than I thought, and we hit on a few. We had a good eclectic group of.
I mean, we didn't go straight up like slasher or I think we decided to choose 3 different kind of like sub horror movies, that are within, the overall genre. The first one we did more of a sci-fi, twist on, some horrific elements with the existence. And then we did a more psychological kind of, you could say real life type of horror movie with Night of the Hunter. Then this one right here is just, closer to what I think a lot of people would consider horror, but it's also still a lot, an action movie and a revenge movie.
Right. And but definitely horrific elements in terms of violence, specifically violence against women, and specifically just
because the horror genre is not only for ghost stories or possession movies or that isn't the only thing that horror encapsulates.
Yeah, that's the one thing with horror, and just to kind of put a button on the horror month, if you will, is that horror has a lot to offer, more so than I think what people consider horror to be.
Yeah, and
I mean, it's steeped in subgenres.
Yeah, I think a lot of filmmakers lately have been really exploring and expanding on the horror genre, like with Get Out, a social commentary horror movie, really. I mean, of course, he's very inspired by movies like Candyman, but which we're getting a kind of a sequel / remake of soon, hopefully. But
well, it would be out already. We probably had already seen it by this
point.
Yeah,
but we're getting a lot more psychological horror with things like Hereditary and, stuff.
Yeah, I think art house horror has made a huge
the Babadook
comeback,
and stuff like that. And
resurgence. I'd say it's safe.
But that's the end of our horror month, and now we are moving on to our next episode, and it is Andrew's turn, and he's trying to figure it out.
It is, and I'm looking, man. I got one, and it's a big.
Oh.
It's a big one. It's a movie I hadn't seen in a while, but it's a big gift to Steven.
Why would you do that?
I feel like he needs it. He needs it.
Why do I need it?
I think I'm gonna do it. I think we need to start it just to start, because we're only going. How many? We only did 3 episodes for this month, so I think we only get 3 for next month.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So you know what? LA Confidential.
Jesus! What? Wow.
I haven't seen it in about 10 years.
10
years. It's one of my first Blu-ray buys. When I started buying Blu-rays, I bought LA Confidential like really early on. I don't know why it was so cheap, but it was like $10.
And let me go ahead and complain now. Where is like a new special edition of this movie?
I know,
seriously. Like this movie should have had a 20th anniversary.
3 years ago.
Like special ultra edition 4K by now.
Or something, at least a remaster.
And the thing is this movie didn't win Best Picture. It was nominated for Best Picture, but for some reason, but when people talk about great movies of the '90s, and in general, they do bring up this movie still. But for some reason, nobody's fucking updating this movie. Where's the new fucking scan of this movie?
Right, and I mean, it's a stacked cast. I mean, for the 90s, Kevin Spacey did a lot of great work in the 90s. Obviously, he's a piece of shit now who's probably never going to work again. But, he was in the movie. Russell Crowe, Guy Pearce, James Cromwell, Kim Basinger. Basinger. I mean, Danny DeVito's in the movie. David, I can never pronounce his name. Strathairn.
That sounds about right.
Great actor. Never pronounce his name, but he's in the movie. And what is interesting about this film is that it takes the classic elements from the film noir genre, if I remember correctly, like literally like the look and the feel, and it's set back in the 50s.
Yeah.
So we get that feel, and also like there's all kind of references. I think that people are gonna understand now if they've gone through film noir. So it's not a strict film noir. It's a neo noir. Obviously,
it's definitely a neo noir in the sense of the style of the filmmaking. But if it was in black and white, you would say it was straight up film noir. I mean, it would.
Yeah, they should have a black and white version.
Hey, talk to whoever the fuck made the movie. I think it's a Fox movie, maybe, or it might even be a Warner Brother movie.
Oh man, I don't even know who's putting it out. All I know is that they missed the window for Curtis Hanson to do like.
Well, the thing is that's the thing too, is when he died, you were like, usually they like to capitalize on the death of people.
Sadly,
so I'm surprised they didn't put out a new edition. So
it actually is a Fox. It is a 20th Century Fox.
So now Disney owns the shit.
Who knows what's going to be happening with that back catalog with Disney now owning it? But it is very affordable Blu-ray if you want to buy it for $7 on Amazon.
So once again, Andrew gifts me a movie that I love. This is whenever anybody asks me what my favorite movie is, usually this is the answer I give. So thank you, Andrew. Now I have to give him a gift next time.
I want to revisit it anyway, and this is a great excuse to do it.
Yeah, well, thank you. I'll watch it for the 20th time. All right.
Just 20 times?
Not nearly enough. Yeah, 21 will be good. And you know what? The thing that I will probably do is, I'm sure Brittany, my wife, has not seen this movie, so I might try to show her the movie. Now, if she doesn't like it, then I might be divorcing. But that
was a quick.
As a quick marriage,
decision. Quick decision.
So we'll see how that goes. But that'll be it for this episode. Where can we find you, Andrew?
You can find me on Twitter at Capzilla06, as well as my YouTube channel, Capzilla Productions.
And you can find me on Facebook, Stephen Billings, or you can find me on Instagram at Cinema Discovery Project, or on Letterboxd at Cinema Discovery. You can find the audio for this podcast on Apple Podcasts or Podbean. Thank you once again for listening, and hey, keep on watching them movies.
I know I will.